No. Okay.
Oh, sorry, Max.
I might have to move this one off and then move it back on then.
I don't know. It says recording.
Yep.
It
Yep.
says recording? Okay. All right.
Sorry, didn't mean to mess up your setup.
That's okay. Well, get back there. I didn't go far. All right. Can you
Yep.
see? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It's a little pixelated.
So what this is called fluid acrylic pouring art. And basically it's made up of acrylic paint, a medium. I use Floetrol. It's a house paint medium. It makes your paint, it just extends it and makes it flow smoother. And water. And you mix those till they're all the same consistency and pretty thin. At that point, then you can add your oil. A lot of people use silicone. I use dimethicone because it's a little less harsh on the environment, and it only has one ingredient. And I get it from a cosmetic company because this is an ingredient that's in your conditioners and shampoos. And basically, what this is there's different techniques that you can use to pour on or flip on or strain through different objects to get different patterns. And what happens is when the paint and the dimethicone and the water mix and then dry, it leaves that sort of cell kind of looking abstractness that you get when water and oil mix.
Like marbled.
Or don't. Yeah. Kind of you can get it if you move your stuff a lot, you're just going to get marbles. Your cells will break and spread. If you want defined, round, really intricate cells, you have to move very, very slowly, and we don't have time for that. It can take up to 20 minutes just tilting one piece. That's
no, we don't have time for that. No.
To keep all of those things set. So there will be some cells, but there won't be as many as if I went slowly. But we're going to go quickly. So what I'm going to do is on this first album, I'm going to do what's called a flip cup. And I'm going to layer all the paints. And then I'm going to take the album, put it on top, and flip it over. I'm going to wait just a few seconds or so, let the paint drip down. And I'm going to lift it straight off. Then I'm going to take the whole album and tilt it and move the paint till it covers the surface. With these particular albums, you can bend them, and it makes it really easy to get a nice even coat.
So what bad album do you have there?
This one, I scraped off the labels. I know it was some terrible disco thing.
Some John Cougar Mellencamp or
probably some unknown. Came from Goodwill. And then there's these older albums, which I like to pour on because they really hold the paint much better because the grooves are much smaller. But these will shatter. They do not bend. And if you tap them on anything, they will break. They're like glass.
They're really fun to throw, though.
On this one, we're going to do a dirty pour. That's when we layer the cups and we pour it on in whatever way you want, but you're pouring it instead of releasing it all at once. What's left over, and you will guaranteedly have leftover paint. I've set up a few extra things over here to get painted on. Some molds and some pieces of wood that will later be turned into other pieces of art. So what typically you do is you make a base coat pour of white or black or whatever color you want, but most people start with white and get it all wet. And then we're going to layer up our colors in the cup using our white to divide the colors so that they don't mix and turn brown. So first we're going to start with some white. This is a very, very, very messy and fun thing to do. That's why so many people right now are opening up little art studios and doing this for kids because they can get messy and play, and it's not harmful to them. And anyway, so we're going to shake this down. And what this does is when the cup gets flipped, it helps it to flow over. And if you don't put this down, what will happen is the pattern on the top will curl under and get lost instead of flow over. Temperature is a big issue. Also, if it's too cold, you cannot do this. When it dries, it will dry with huge cracks in it called crazing. Some people want it to craze and they like to fill those cracks with, gold or silver or line work of some sort, but it's mostly undesirable in this medium to have crazing. So that's good enough. We got some white paint down. Now I'm going to start the layering into this cup. I'm going to start with white, and then you can just do it however you like. If you pour it low, it's just going to sit right on top of that same color. But if you pour it high, it'll mix down in and help to become another color, especially if you're just using primaries. At about this juncture is when I use the oil. A lot of people will put their oil in each individual color. For me, that's too much oil, and it makes big pitted divot marks in your paint when it dries. So balancing out how much of this you put in is important. And you just need a tiny bit, like 4 or 5 drops per painting. And then continuing to pour the paint in, we'll mix those oils together. Let's do a little bit more yellow. And then I'm just going to throw in some magenta because I like it. I'm going to take this, put it on top, flip it over. You kind of want to hold it in place because it's going to want to float away. Move these to the side. And we'll use those paints. If whatever amount of paint you put in here wasn't enough, then you still have some reserve paint to fill in those edges if you like. So when we lift it off, it makes a big mess.
Nice.
And then you just slowly move it around.
Ooh.
Is it close enough? Can you see?
Yep.
So the slower I move it, the more that these little cells will stay. But the faster I move it, the more they stretch out, running off the edge.
It's on your hands.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place. It's gonna be everywhere. See? Now at that point, I'm just gonna stop.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Because now I've got
beautiful.
sort of an even coat everywhere. I don't have it too thin or too thick in any one spot. But what I'm going to do now, just to add interest to it, is I'm going to let the hole go. Sometimes I tape the holes, and sometimes I let them go. And this one I'm going to let go. And it's just going to slowly drain over time down that center and make these really pretty little flowery kind of loops in the center.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Now, you would think that this is now over, but it's not, because these things have to be babysat, like terribly babysat. I leveled everything on here before we started, but that means nothing. It means that you have to keep continually turning them, check the levels where they're moving. The next day, it's still going to continue to move, so you got to watch it. And if you don't want to lose a particular part of it, you got to, change your levels and stuff like that. So even over the course of a couple of days, this can change. So you may love it now. You better take a picture. So now I'm going to just do the color palette and your application. This one with a dirty pour. And then that's it. That's basically all you do. You just keep adding paint into your cup. until it's the way you want it. Hey. You have any questions?
All right, I'm going to turn the recording off
questions?
for the question part because I notice people get.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, sure.